great experience. 18 points a game as well for Marquette. Villanova in white, Marquette in blue, and it's Acker and the Golden Eagles with the first possession of the game. Had been a 12-minute-a-game guy off the bench for Marquette. Now over 30 minutes a game since the injury to James, and a quick steal by Reggie Redding.
Again, Villanova is one of those teams that, they don't have tremendous size, but they got size in the right places, particularly in the backcourt, make them a hard matchup. Marquette's got to realize they've got to play some defense. They gave up 102 points the last time these two teams met. They scored 84, but still.
Matthews misses the wide open three, eventually knocks it out of bounds off a Villanova player, so Marquette will retain possession. Villanova the number 4 seed, Marquette the number 5 seed here in the Big East Championship. There are a lot of talented athletic guards between these two teams. McNeil a miss, and the rebound to Shane Clark. Villanova's actually bigger than Marquette. We've all come to think of Villanova as the team with Foy and Ray and Nardi and Lowry. They're not quite a 4-guard team. They've got some size, but Jay Wright still depends heavily on his guards, and we'll see a couple of good ones at Fisher and Stokes off the bench. What a job done by Jay Wright at Villanova, the Big East Coach of the Year this year. And as Len mentioned off the top, Villanova is peaking at the right time. This is a team that has beaten Pittsburgh this year, and this is a team that can play with anybody.
Yeah, they demonstrated they can play different styles, and it all comes down to the cohesiveness inside, willingness of guys to play roles. You use guys like Shane Clark as an example. He came off the bench and started the last 11 games, averaged about 9 points, 4 rebounds. He did a tremendous defensive job against Luke Herrington. I think that's more important, and there he is at the end.
Shane Clark knocking it away from Lazar Hayward as Villanova takes over. A minute and a half in, looking for the first point of the game.
Villanova dismantling Notre Dame at Notre Dame earlier this year, and Clark does a terrific job in the middle.
Reynolds a little bit short on the floater, but the smallest man on the floor, Maurice Acker, comes up with a rebound.
He didn't have to leave the ground.
Matthews off to McNeil for 3, in and out. Rebound Cunningham.
Well, the pace is what we expected. Probably expected a few points, a few digits on the scoreboard.
I'd like to welcome those of you over on who were watching over on ESPN2 as Baylor defeated Kansas. Dante Cunningham picking up the foul. We are here at Madison Square Garden in New York City. Dan Shulman, Len Elmore, Alan Hopkins. The second of 4 quarterfinals for the Big East Championship today. Louisville defeating Providence in the first one today. The winner of this game, and we're just underway, will get Louisville tomorrow night.
And it's really no coincidence. We saw in the first game it took a while for both teams to score. Villanova, having the 2-day bye, and Marquette having played yesterday, although they didn't have to expend a whole lot of energy yesterday. But nevertheless, it seems as though one team maybe trying to get their feet wet in the game, and the other a little bit of anxiety.
Acker misses the 3. A good box out there by Dwayne Anderson to corral the rebound for the Wildcats. 2.5 minutes in, no points.
Well, Maurice Acker, is probably more important for him to get everybody a touch, get them involved in the ball game before he gets his shot.
And there's maybe the biggest reason why Dante Cunningham was named the most improved player in the Big East. He has become a money shooter from 15 feet.
Yeah, that little inside pivot, face-up jump shot, it's automatic.
McNeil into traffic, has it taken away. He's looking for a foul call. Back the other way come the Wildcats. Wide open Shane Clark. Marquette will look to run. Both of these teams like to get up and down when they can. McNeil from Matthews.
And they'll shoot the 3 in transition. You got McNeil, you got Hayward, you got Matthews, all capable of knocking it down. And when you're running a fast break, the defense likes to flow down the middle and protect the basket. These guys fan out. You better get to the shooter.
Cunningham defended by Burke. Cunningham quicker than Burke. Tries to get him in the air. Burke won't bite. Reset in the post. Cunningham fading away. Great defensive sequence on a couple of occasions by Dwight Burke. Matthews, the pull-up from 15. Loose ball to Reynolds.
We told you they'll both force the action a little bit. Villanova may be under control here because Marquette a nice job of getting back defensively.
Reynolds close to carrying the ball on a couple of occasions. We've got a foul on the inside on Marquette. to take us to our first media timeout.
Well, you're going to take a look right here. Dante Cunningham, as you mentioned, Dan, the most improved player with that face-up jumper. Hard for big guys to defend. And then in transition, you see the white shirts in the paint. Jarrell McNeil just painted the bucket.
...2009 Car and Driver 10 Best, second year in a row. A 2009 Best Resale Value Award from Kelley Blue Book's KBB.com. And the best luxury coverage in the industry. Apparently, it is possible to raise the bar and still keep everything within reach. See your local Cadillac dealer for details.
Now for a limited time, get a KFC Famous Bowls combo with drink for only $2.99. Layers of our home-style mashed potatoes, sweet corn, and all-white meat crispy chicken, all topped with gravy and a 3-cheese blend. KFC Famous Bowls combo, only $2.99.
I'm more cautious, I'll say. You know, I want to make sure that whatever I have left, that I take care of.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I've been an investor all my life, but with what's happening, it makes me want to just shore up everything I've got and stop losing it and start saving it. You know what I mean?
Inability, bad.
Ouch.
Drinkability, good. Not too heavy, not too light. Bud Light. The difference is drinkability.
The NCAA Women's Basketball Championship, March 21st through April 7th.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. Every season starts at Dick's. And in part by the 2009 Cadillac CTS.
Well, here's the upset of the conference tournaments thus far. Kansas, the #1 seed. That's Sharon Collins looking for a tie. It's an air ball, and then Tweety Carter will salt things away. Baylor knocks off Kansas.
Baylor 5-11 in the conference, coming off with a big upset against #1 seed Kansas. Baylor needs a lot of work if they got any shot at getting in.
Yeah, Kansas Jayhawks have a lot of time to wait till Sunday to find out where they are headed. Dan.
John, thank you. And looking at the bracket in the Phillips 66 Big 12 Championship, the championship game Saturday at 6 Eastern on ESPN. And if it comes down to Oklahoma to Kansas, Oklahoma, if they win it, still in play for a #1 seed. And we've talked about that with respect to Louisville, Connecticut, Pittsburgh here in the Big East.
Yeah, but that path is not very clear. I mean, first of all, in-state rival Oklahoma State tonight. And if that happens, if Missouri prevails, I mean, Missouri, one of the hottest teams in the nation throughout the last couple of months, come from nowhere to being ranked very highly. And Mike Anderson doing a terrific job. So the road won't be easy. And if Oklahoma can conquer that, they win the Big 12 championship, barring, you know, Louisville winning and making that argument. I think that pretty much you have to crown Oklahoma with the #1 seed. And when I say crown, I don't know if they really want to wear that crown, because heavy and uneasy is the head that wears that #1 seed crown.
Shane Clark, 6'7", a freshman out of Philadelphia, knocks down free throws. Here comes Corey Fisher, the 6th man of the year in the Big East, as he takes Clark's place. Fisher is a sophomore from the Bronx, attended St. Patrick's in New Jersey, and came off the bench, did start some, came off the bench more often than not, and averaged almost 11 points per game.
Yeah, he had a string of 8 double-scoring figure games off the bench in a row at some point during the season. Really established himself as an energy guy coming off. Right there, he draws the foul on the jump shooter.
Anderson picks up the foul, and Hayward will go to the line for Marquette. We were talking before the first game today about Lazar Hayward. Still, no matter how much you talk about him, it still seems he's not getting the attention he deserves. In the regular season, better than 16 points, 8 rebounds per game. There was one player in the Big East who both outscored and out-rebounded Lazar Hayward. Just one, and that was Luke Herringotti of Notre Dame.
That's pretty good company to keep. The reason why I thought Fisher was called for before the official announced it, because when he reached in and he pulled back like he got his hand caught in the cookie jar,
right.
He had that look on his face. But yeah, Lazar Hayward is a guy that's so unsung. kind of overshadowed by the Wesley Matthews improvement and certainly by the Jarrell McNeal dominance and the athleticism of Dominique James. Those guys have been around for a while, but he'll get his due.
Fisher for three, knocks it down. So into the game in less than a minute, and he buries a long-range jumper.
Yeah, there are times when he's instant offense. All you got to do is add minutes.
McNeil looking for a foul call as he airballs the three. Whether it's coincidence or not, interested in your opinion, in this building, they seem to take a lot of threes from beyond the NBA line. Whether they just see the line and don't realize which one it is. Right now, Corey Fisher doesn't seem much bothered by either line as he knocks down another one.
Yeah, where you going with that? Is do they see the line, or are they sitting there trying to impress somebody? I think they get confused, and that's why, as opposed to the past, this line has kind of been muted as much as they possibly could, the pro line, and the college line prominent, so guys won't make that mistake.
Villanova in transition. Jimmy Butler trying to slow down Reynolds. Dwayne Anderson on the inside draws the foul.
Well, again, Villanova is one of those teams that they start getting hot. They can shoot with the best of them. You know, second in the conference in three-point field goal percentage. And, you know, that's just an outstanding play right there. Here, inside out. And once again, Corey Fisher just steps into the shot. I mean, that's the best way to shoot the three. You go inside out. You get shooters stepping in as opposed to the lateral pass. So they've got to turn their bodies, reset their feet.
Going back to the lines, in most collegiate arenas now you've got two lines for the women and the men. Here in a pro arena you've got the men's and then the pro line. So I mean, whether they're just taking them from wherever they feel like it or not realizing in the heat of the moment how far back they are, who knows?
Yeah, I think it's like reflex action. Yeah. You see a line, put up the shot.
Jimmy Butler on the drive, a very important player off the Marquette bench. Dwayne Anderson picks up his second.
Team's third.
And that's going to force Jay Wright to make a substitution. Shane Clark will come back in. Buzz Williams doesn't have much of a bench, especially since the Dominique James injury. He'll go 7 deep. Jimmy Butler and David Kubian probably no deeper than that.
Well, you know, for tournaments like this, that can become an issue, although you learn how to manage the time. But once you get into the NCAA tournament, I mean, you only want an 8-deep rotation. You know, because now you got guys who are focused. You'll have a bit of rest in between, you know, sessions, and it gives you an opportunity to really maximize the play of the individuals you put on the floor. You substitute too many guys, and you can't develop a rhythm.
Had a chance to talk to Dominique James briefly before the game. He's keeping his chin up, trying to stay positive in spite of the fact his season and his collegiate career over. He came in with Jarrell McNeal, Wesley Matthews. They were looking to go out together, make a deep run into the NCAA tournament. Still a very talented team. What do the Golden Eagles miss without having Dominique James?
Well, they certainly miss his athleticism and his experience. I mean, here's a guy that's been around 4 years as a starter. He's been both a scorer and a playmaker. And certainly his athleticism, there are things you can do on the floor with him that you can't really do with Maurice Acker. And the alley-oops and some of the other plays that Dominique James excelled at.
Good offensive rebounding position by Wesley Matthews, and he is fouled, and he took exception to the severity of the foul. Thought he was hit a little bit hard.
When you take a look here, everybody has to go to the board for Villanova. Again, they rebound by committee. And you talk about they got a +4 margin with no one over 6'8", and they got 4 players who average 4 or more rebounds per game. So you know that they're sending everybody there. Everybody's got to do their part.
Matthews' dad, Wes, played at Wisconsin, played in the NBA as Burt comes in for Hayward. Matthews, if you can do this quietly in a league like the Big East, averaged better than 18 points per game this year, shot 50% from the field, almost 40% from 3, and over 80% from the line.
And as superlative as that is, again, he was overshadowed by Jarrell McNeal's numbers. And so I talked about McNeal having player of the year numbers. People spoke of him probably in more glowing terms than anybody on that team.
McNeal first team All Big East. Matthews, who just blocked that shot, second team All Big East. This is a team that lost 4 in a row in the aftermath of the James injury, all to ranked teams. They had a lead in the second half in all 4. 1 went to overtime. 2 were on the road as Matthews misses the 3. They may be slightly diminished without James, but there is no quit in this Marquette team. Reynolds from the corner buries the three. Scotty Reynolds.
Said he came in with the hot hand. You know, he made, coming into this game, 11 of his last 16 three-point attempts. You can't leave him.
McNeil off the bounce, too strong. Villanova ball. Talk about Scotty Reynolds and his evolution. I mean, he would have some huge scoring games, but a better all-round player now than a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah, I mean, experience does wonders for you. Cross-court pass, Marquette late finding him, which I'm sure that's not the way it was discussed in the locker room. He's one of those guys you have to pay attention to and you have to almost play tag with.
You talked about ideally a rotation of 8 heading into the postseason. That's what Jay Wright has. 8 players, all of whom play between 19 and 32 minutes per game. And he can bring the likes of Antonio Pena, Corey Stokes, their best shooter, has just come in off the bench. That's him with the ball. So Jay Wright has a very desirable rotation right now with this group.
And look at the way they share the ball, man. Everybody gets a touch.
Reynolds the miss. Rebound Marquette. Here comes Matthews, who's been involved early.
And Marquette has to be careful. They don't want to settle just for jump shots. You know, you got Jimmy Butler inside, who can be a threat down low. He's got the matchup with Shane Clark. You got Burke, who can be a conduit. He's not necessarily a guy that's going to score points for you, but if it goes inside out, you got a better opportunity on your perimeter game.
Butler off to Kubian. Corner pass to Matthews. Shot clock at 7. Inside to Butler, who's fouled and will shoot a pair.
Much better possession by Marquette on the pass.
We'll step aside here in the midst of our second of 4 quarterfinals from the Garden today. The winner to advance to take on Louisville in the semis tomorrow night. 2 talented teams in Villanova and Marquette having at it. The Wildcats up early by 6. Villanova by 6 early. Dante Cunningham, one of the keys for the Wildcats this year. He's become the most improved player in the Big East, and not surprisingly, it's because of a lot of hard work. Earlier this year, Cunningham told us what he's done to work on his game.
Just staying in the gym all summer long, working on my jump shot, working on my ball, and on different moves in the post, things like that. A good 45 minutes of, good hard shooting. We do a 7-spot drill, and we take about 10 shots from, every spot around the perimeter. In the weight room, just a lot of powerlifting, just trying to get my strength up, and then understanding how to maintain it, during the course of a year.
So how will Marquette try to defend Dante Cunningham? Len Elmore takes us inside the play.
Well, they're going to surround him. You take a look right here at Dante Cunningham as he gets the ball here. Take a look. There he is now. As he makes that move, you take a look at the defenders that come around him. Once he gets in the paint, he got 3 guys around him, and that's what Dante Cunningham has to be cognizant of. Another look right here. He receives. He gets in the paint. That's why Marquette has to deal with him. They don't have the size to dominate him. They're all around the same size. Cunningham 6'8", and the guys around him, Burke, and the guards are smaller. But in the end, it's about getting the ball out of his hands.
Let's go to Alan Hopkins for more.
Coach Wright told me earlier today that he nor the team is surprised by the season Dante is having because of the work you just saw there, but also because of his attitude. He wanted to come into the preseason and practice like a dominant player, and that's what he did. And he's able to carry that around also to his games. And one thing you know, that if he continues to be a dominant player, Lynn and Dan, then they have a good chance of not only winning this Big East championship, they also have a chance to get back to the Sweet 16, something they did a year ago.
Well, it's interesting that in talking to Jay Wright, when they first recruited Dante Cunningham, Jay Wright will tell you he thought he had a general, but Dante started out as a soldier.
That's right.
But as you saw the progression in his improvement, he ultimately has become the general right now. Not as vocal, but certainly lets his play do the talking.
But again, when he came in, it was the team with Alan Ray and Randy Foye and Kyle Lowry. They were a guard-dominated team, and Cunningham deferred to the guards and to the older players, but has really grown into his own and become one of the best big men in the Big East. The scoring up 6 points per game for Dante Cunningham.
And you saw again from his freshman year up until now, it's just been steady progression. Those are the last 2 years.
Cunningham back into the game for Clark. 5-point lead for Villanova. They split the 2 regular season meetings. And if we had a technical foul assessed against Buzz Williams of Marquette. Corey Stokes will shoot the free throws.
Buzz, usually a model of decorum. Looked like a choir boy right there after the tech was called. No complaints. Yeah. Smile.
It's March. It's the Big East Championship. Buzz Williams, who started off his coaching career as an assistant at Navarro Junior College in Texas, was at UT Arlington, Colorado State, among other places, an assistant to Billy Gillespie at Texas A&M, the head coach for 1 year at the University of New Orleans, an assistant for 1 year to Tom Crean at Marquette, and now the head man there. A workaholic. A guy who was renowned for, when he was younger, having the names and addresses of 425 collegiate coaches around the country, wrote them weekly letters, just updating them on his progress, trying to learn anything from them that he could, reads voraciously about coaches and their thought processes. Jimmy Butler will shoot a couple. Junior college player who has become better and better and more important for the Golden Eagles over the course of the season.
Yeah, he's provided a major inside presence on the offensive end. Again, not in the conventional post-up way, but just a way to be able to handle the ball, get into the paint, use his athleticism to create problems, and certainly get out on the break as he did.
You see the numbers from yesterday against St. John's, and just last week Butler had a double-double against Syracuse, so 2 big games in a row for Butler.
He's a guy, you look at his total points, and as the Marquette communications folks aptly point out, at least 95% or more of his points have been scored either from the free throw line or in the paint. We did see him hit a rare perimeter shot yesterday.
Hit about a 12-footer just wide of the paint. He's a guy who can defend a number of positions. So right now he's guarding a guard in Reggie Redding. Now, Redding is a very strong physical guard, but a guard nonetheless.
Yeah, Reggie Redding's an example of the matchup problems that Villanova presents for other teams. Although Marquette can match up pretty nicely. They've got guys that same size, the same quickness.
Floater off by Fisher. Rebound to Marquette. McNeil looks to push. McNeil all the way in. Got it!
Good scoring for Jarrell McNeil.
Surveying the floor, dribbling with your head up. Jarrell McNeil on the push, and he's just looking for lanes. As Butler crosses, he does enough to create a lane to the basket. That's all Jarrell McNeil needs. He just needs a little bit of daylight, and he finishes nicely.
And the second foul on Dante Cunningham. So Jay Wright is stomping up and down that sideline right now, not happy at all. And Cunningham's going to have to come out as Shane Clark comes back in. Both Cunningham and Dwayne Anderson each with 2 early fouls for Villanova.
And Jay Wright's question is, did you say 33? Did you really mean 33?
And Tim Higgins says, yeah, Jay.
Okay.
Jay Wright going with the light-colored suit here for the daytime session at the Big East.
Yeah, always sartorially resplendent.
Yes, the lead down to 2 for Villanova, and some foul trouble and a turnover. McNeil coast to coast. 4 Golden Eagles to the glass, but they can't convert, and a run out for Scotty Reynolds, and he will go to the line. The foul on Dwight Burke.
Well, we said at the beginning of the telecast this was going to go up and down, and the guys may not be, hitting with regular accuracy, but they are not shy about pushing it up the floor, getting the defense back on their heels, and then attacking. And that's exactly what Scotty Reynolds did.
Well, the 2 teams, you're right about them not shooting very well, and the 2 teams have combined to shoot 21% so far. Marquette is 2 for 13. Villanova is 4 for 15. Sacker checks back in. Burke out after his second foul. So Marquette goes a lot smaller right now. They've got nobody over 6'6" in the game.
I think the shooting percentages will change because both teams are getting after it. They're not settling for jump shots. Look at this, trying to get into the paint.
Corey Stokes with the bucket. The Marquette bench wanted a charge.
It was certainly contact there. Look at Lazar Hayward. He's got to turn and face Scotty Reynolds.
Acker throws it away and then fouls Reynolds.
We've sung the praises of Lazar Hayward, his ability to shoot the jumper, his versatility. He didn't necessarily have to put it on the floor. Lazar Hayward at 6'6", Scotty Reynolds generously at 6'2". All he had to do is turn and face an opportunity to shoot that jump shot, and he gives up the ball.
How about both teams over the limit midway through the first half? Kubian back in for Acker. And Villanova's got, they might not have the tallest guards, but Reynolds and Fisher and Redding, they're strong and physical. This could be a tough game for Acker, and we may see more of Kubian than Acker. And Kubian actually scored his first points in about 2.5 months yesterday against St. John's. He had become a forgotten guy for Marquette, but with the injury to James, Kubian's back into the rotation and might be stepping up in importance here today.
Yeah, I mean, and you look at the guys on the floor. You look at Reggie Reddings, you look at Corey Stokes, both of them listed at 6'5". Sometimes they play bigger than that. They have to play small forward positions, even in the power spots. That shows you the versatility. Right now, Shane Clark might be the power forward.
One thing for Kubian, not really a point guard. So when he's in the game instead of Acker, McNeil's going to have to do a lot more initiating of the offense like he did right there. And McNeil, and this is something that's been going on since James was hurt, maybe try to take a little more on himself without James, driving into the traffic a lot, and this kind of thing's been happening to him a fair bit.
Well, you're right there. You see Jimmy Butler wide open coming in from the right of your screen, and out in the corner, David Kubian was open, but McNeil saw nothing but the rim.
Now Kubian will initiate the offense. 7 on the shot clock. 3. Matthews 4-3. Villanova ball. Well, it seems like every time there's a rebound, somebody winds up on the deck. This has been physical. In and out for Reggie Redding. And Lazar Hayward called for the carry. He was just trying to avoid his own teammate, get the ball around his teammate, but Gary Prager says he got his hand under the ball, and that's a carry.
It will be Villanova ball.
I've seen this call made a lot of times, and you've seen it ignored. And in that situation, it would have been better off ignored simply because, again, his teammate, had he put it on the floor, he'd have hit it off his teammate. You see guys out here getting advantage and turning the ball over, hands getting underneath the ball, right out in front. Right there, Shane Clark just did it. And if you're going to call it, you call it on a consistent basis.
Redding baseline, loses it. And then Hayward throws it away. And just like the first game today, sloppy. Poor shooting, lots of turnovers. Poor shooting except for Corey Stokes. 44% from beyond the arc on the season. Villanova's on an 8-0 run, up by 10. Timeout, Marquette.
Almost 3-1. So he wasn't prone to turn the ball over and provided some leadership in the half court. Particularly when the offense breaks down and shot clock's running down, that's when you want your point guard to create for himself or others. And without a natural point guard out there, difficulty of Marquette running their offense.
Matthews with a floater. And Marquette now 2 for 16 from the field. Almost all of their offense has come from the free throw line today, where they're 10 of 11. Good ball movement by the Wildcats. Good position inside. Antonio Pena with the finish.
That was Antonio Pena.
And the lead is 12. A 10-0 run right now for Villanova.
And Maurice Acker, the natural point guard who's replaced Dominic James with foul trouble, so he's not an option right now with 2 fouls.
McNeil with a crossover, trying to shake Reynolds, who stays with him. Good help there by Fisher. McNeil unable to get on track so far today.
Villanova doing a nice job on the spins. You know, they're taking the position. And as soon as Jerome McNeil spins, there's a white shirt in his face. That was a carry right there.
Right, yeah. And Reynolds will draw the foul and head to the free throw line. Timeout on the floor. Villanova up a dozen on the Golden Eagles here in our second quarter final from New York City.
John Saunders and Digger Phelps in the studio. In the SEC, Ole Miss facing Kentucky. Jody Meeks. Nice drive, good hang time.
Jody Meeks needs to get this game under belt. They've got to win this game since they lost 4 straight, 8 of their last 11. You must have to get to the SEC championship, but how about Kansas going down to Baylor, John?
They did, and Michigan with a lead over Iowa by 10. That's on ESPN2.
Well, if these two guys can get along, Yankee fan, Red Sox fan, Maybe anybody can get along, although tonight might be a different story here with the Big East Championship. 2 more quarterfinal games coming your way tonight, and you talk about some of the great rivalries in the Big East Conference. If you live in Pittsburgh, you don't like anybody in West Virginia, and if you live in Morgantown, you don't like anybody in Pittsburgh. That's one of the quarterfinals tonight, 7 Eastern right here on ESPN, and then Connecticut and Syracuse, another one of the great rivalries in this great league. Sean McDonough, Bill Raftery, Jay Billis will bring those 2 games your way tonight. Meanwhile, Villanova up a dozen on Marquette. The Golden Eagles are 2 for 17 from the field. Villanova's knocked down 4 threes. Jarrell McNeil, we've seen him drive into the teeth of the defense on a number of occasions already, Len. He is 2 for 10. But he's the only guy to make a shot so far for Marquette. The rest of the team is 0 for 7.
And that's what I mean by the breakdown of the offense. You got to have a floor leader out there, somebody who's going to be able to distribute and create for other folks. Jarrell McNeil, a terrific substitute, but you know his mentality is score.
One of 2 for Reynolds, and a foul on Pena of the Wildcats. Both teams are over the limit, so they're going to walk the floor and shoot again. First personal, 8th team. Well, for whatever reason, in the 2 games today, we have seen some poor shooting, an excessive number of turnovers, some sloppy play.
And as I mentioned before, it's a combination of one team having played yesterday and kind of maybe in a fog, maybe try to get the soreness out on game 2, and the other team having that 2-day bye. It's just a question of rust.
These are 2 teams solidly in the NCAA tournament. And Marquette having lost 4 out of 5 since the injury to James. Their stock obviously has slipped in the last few weeks, and their seeding will probably reflect that unless they go on a big run here in New York.
Well, if you're wondering what to play for, obviously Marquette trying to gain some momentum instead of limping into the NCAA tournament. That win against St. John stopped a 4-game losing streak. And if you're Villanova, you haven't won the Big East Championship since 1995, and you got a team that's capable of doing it.
Kind of the sleeper contender that nobody's talking about here as McNeil spins again. This time draws the foul, and he hits the deck hard.
And do you get the feeling that Villanova is going to spend their fouls, keeping Marquette from getting layups?
First on Reynolds, team's 9th. And we talked about Villanova and their history here with the Big East Championship, with the 1 title back in 1995, and pretty impressive. They have won at least 1 game each of the last 5 appearances. That may not sound like a lot, but oftentimes, and this is an example, their first game is this game because they finish fairly high up. They get the bye, so they're playing another ranked team in their first game. So to win at least 1 game in the Big East Championship 5 years in a row, there are not many programs that can say that. Look at the shooting for Marquette, 2 for 17.
They're attacking, though, and that's why they're at least within striking distance. 9 points because they get into the free throw line. Nice pass.
Reggie Redding and the extra pass. Shane Clark, and he's fouled. Great ball movement by the Wildcats.
I mean, again, that's why they're so tough. They're so methodical, no rush. Move the ball, try to hit the open man. I mean, it's not to say that they haven't been undisciplined at times, but right now this is a team that knows how to win.
Second foul on McNeil. You look at the postseason, the all Big East teams, first, second, third, honorable mention. Dante Cunningham made the 2nd team in the Big East. Scotty Reynolds was honorable mention. There is not, again, a superstar on this Villanova team, but a great 8-man rotation, everybody understanding their role, everybody sharing the ball, everybody playing hard for Jay Wright. Sounds like kind of a coach's dream what he's got this year.
Oh, certainly, and he's had the ability to be the architect of it. And this is all about another guy, a different guy every night, demonstrating that he's a valuable, integral part of that whole rotation. Nice quick pass off the dribble.
Clark misses the turnaround, and Matthews the rebound, and Clark commits the foul. It is a foul fest here in the first half of this game.
Foul is charged to Shane Clark of Villanova. It's his second.
Second on Clark, 10th team foul on Villanova. So now 2 shots coming for Marquette.
Marquette will be shooting the double bonus.
Wesley Matthews at the line.
Shooting 2.
Well, in this early test of who could knock down free throws, you know, both of these teams shooting them pretty well. But in an effort to kind of slow the other one down, getting pretty physical.
Reynolds using the screen. Misses the 3. Rebound Hayward. Junior out of Buffalo pushes it ahead to David Kubian. It'll stay with Marquette. So far in this game, we have had 19 personal fouls, 11 turnovers, and only 9 field goals made by the 2 teams in better than 14 minutes of action.
Well, that may be indicative of physical play. Guys getting close to the basket, particularly when Marquette tries to attack the glass or attack the basket. Villanova is more willing to foul than take their chances.
Butler inside, and finally somebody other than Jarrell McNeil makes a shot for Marquette. Although it was McNeil who set it up, drew the defense, and found the open man.
Which is something he needs to do more of. He's now established himself as an offensive threat. Not so accurate, but at least he's going to go to the basket, and Villanova's going to make the adjustment. Now it's time to find someone else.
A weave on the perimeter by Villanova. Stokes corrals the loose ball. And a push on Wesley Matthews. That'll be the 10th team foul on Marquette.
Well, we talk about Jarrell McNeil again. He's not going to back down, and he's certainly not going to turn down shots, recognizing how important he is. You see him utilize those screens nicely, gets into the paint and finds Jimmy Butler coming in from the baseline side. Now, we saw that earlier on a replay where I mentioned McNeil kept it, went to the basket, tried to beat 3 guys, and Butler was coming in, flashing in very wide open. That lesson wasn't lost on McNeil.
At the line, Scotty Reynolds, still an explosive scorer, had a 40-point game versus Seton Hall earlier this year and averaged almost 16 points per game, but didn't force it as much as he occasionally did earlier in his career. Got a lot of weapons around him. Hustling on defense, trying to stay with McNeil, and he comes up with the steal. What a sequence by Scotty Reynolds.
Scotty Reynolds.
Boy, the frustration on Jarrell McNeil's face. Reynolds shoots the gap. McNeil didn't even want to pass, and there he is again, just denying.
Reynolds really taking the challenge of defending the other team's best player while being the primary scorer for his team today. Matthews cut off. Good help by Pena. Good trap in the corner. Boy, Villanova's getting after it on D. Now a look for Matthews. To say the least, it has not been Marquette's day.
Well, look at Scotty Reynolds right there. Just doing an excellent job of denial. Never falls for the fake back door and stays on top of his man. Gets a hand in the passing lane and finishes it up. And we talked about it before. Scotty Reynolds shows up for big games, second leading scorer on this team. But he can play some defense as well.
Fisher the kick, Redding the extra pass. We got Reynolds surrounded in the corner. He dribbles out of it. Beautiful feed inside. Great patience by Redding. Everything clicking for the Cats. Marquette a winner yesterday handily by 29 over St. John's. This is Villanova's first game of the tournament. And that will be a block on Pena. And McNeil will head back to the line. For Jarrell McNeil right now, you talked about the one time he drove and dished and how you'd like to see more than that. He's having to initiate the offense, be the scorer, defend Reynolds. He's having to do everything right now because Dominic James is out with a broken foot.
Yeah, the schedule and fate have been unkind to Marquette over the last 4 games, 5 games of the regular season, and they've had to make adjustments. I don't think they're quite there yet. But in the end, before next week, they better find a way to do it. Certainly if they want to win this Big East championship. Last title they won was in 1997, the Conference USA title. Talking about Marquette, so a chance for this group of Marquette folks, and particularly the seniors, to get their names etched in the annals of Marquette history.
Everybody getting a touch every time down the floor, it seems, for the guys in white. Reynolds sheds the defender, knocks in the 6-footer. Scotty Reynolds with a game-high 13. Matthews baseline, good help. And then the weak side rebound and the easy putback for Jimmy Butler. Fisher, Reynolds, Redding, Pena, and Stokes. A small lineup out there right now for Villanova. And away from the ball, a call on Kubian. Recruit those kinds of players. But yesterday against Notre Dame, Alex Ruoff a big game, Deshaun Butler a big game. What do they have to do to compete with Pittsburgh?
Well, they've got to keep it going. They've got to get their hot guys and continue to have them hot. But more than anything else, they've got to be able to rebound. I think that's going to be a key. Pittsburgh, obviously a terrific offensive rebounding team led by the best offensive rebounder in the country. They got to start. They got to limit some shots. Keep DeJuan Blair off the glass.
The co-player of the year in the Big East, along with Connecticut's Hashim Thabit. Don't forget about Sam Young and Levance Fields for Pitt. Three great talents for that team.
And how about Lazar Hayward? Now he's got a bit. Well, now he doesn't have a mismatch. At one point he did. Now's the time to use him with Antonio Pena on him.
Kubian misses the three, kept alive by Matthews, who swung an elbow after the fact, trying to come up with the ball and free himself. And now Jarrell McNeal. Was that McNeal called for the foul? Number 3 on Jarrell McNeal.
All right, that sounds like an alarm for Marquette. If McNeal goes and sits on the bench, then who is the offensive threat? We talk about Lazar Hayward not really being in the ball game. Normally, he's playing against guys against whom he has an advantage because he's quicker. He's playing against bigger guys. But he's got to do more than just stand around and watch. You take a look at the shot right here, and he's just standing in no man's land, just right here watching. And what he's got to be able to do is get involved, either hit the glass or get back on defense. They'd probably more likely like him to hit the glass.
Meanwhile, Scotty Reynolds continues to pile up the points from the free throw line. He is the high scorer in this game with 16. He's 9 out of 12 from the line. By the way, talking about Pitt and West Virginia, they met twice during the regular season, and Pittsburgh won both of them.
Yeah, Hayward's got to get far more involved right now. And they've got to start looking for him as well. He's high screening and rolling, but nobody looking at him.
Kubian from the corner. They needed that one. Wesley Matthews the assist.
3 points for David Kubian.
Just the 4th field goal in the first half. 5th field goal make it in the first half for the Golden Eagles. They are shooting 21%. Nearly stolen by Butler.
You know, need much more of this. Not only the penetration. Nice job there by Matthews, but also they need to knock down some shots. And that's Kubian's game right there. Catch and shoot.
Under 2 minutes to play here in the first half. The winner takes on Louisville in a semifinal tomorrow night here from the Garden, 7 Eastern on ESPN. Reggie Redding. Boy, just great ball movement here today by Villanova.
And they're sharing the ball. And unlike Marquette, it seems a little bit desperate to get a couple of guys driving the ball. You take a look at the pressure right there. The timeout by Marquette. Buzz Williams calls it from the sideline.
Yeah, it looks like one team's trying to do it off the bounce into Marquette. Villanova's doing it by passing the ball. Exactly. Everybody getting touches, getting good looks, and a double-digit lead on the Golden Eagles. The always bustling streets in the midtown of Manhattan. Dan Shulman, Len Elmore, Allen Hopkins. Championship Week presented by Dick's Sporting Goods for the 27th year in a row. The Big East Championship comes your way from Madison Square Garden at the corner of 33rd and 7th. Started on Tuesday this year. All 16 teams invited. We're down to 7 right now after Providence was eliminated earlier today. Villanova 15 on Marquette. 2 more quarterfinals tonight.
Villanova's zone now. You got to be able to use Hayward. Look at him at the top. He's got to show his hands and want it. His hands are down at his side. Who's going to throw it to him?
Matthews knocked away by Fisher. 3-on-1. Fisher with a crossover and a beautiful feed to Reynolds.
And the point you made prior to the break is exactly it. Villanova doing it with the pass, spreading the wealth. And Marquette trying to do it off the bounce. And it's not selfish play by Marquette. I just think it's anxiety. You take a look right there, the steal. Wesley Matthews trying to do it all by himself. And as I mentioned before, Lazar Haywood, who should be the focal point in busting the zone, is moving around, but his hand's at his side. He's not demanding the ball. He's not giving a target. And passers don't feel confident in throwing the ball into you unless you do such things as showing your hands.
We talked earlier about how coaches inherently worry about things they need to fix rather than enjoying things that are going well. But Jay Wright is one of the most upbeat, optimistic people probably either one of us has ever met. Is there anything Jay Wright's displeased with so far in this game?
I think he's got to be confident. I mean, it looks like they're executing their game plan. They've got Marquette's best player out of the game, and they're just going after. The guards are rebounding as they are doing right here, and they're limiting them on the other end defensively. Of course, Marquette's somewhat playing into their hands by not exploring inside out against the zone. But I think Jay can be pretty content right now, but he won't be.
45 points in the first half. Dante Cunningham has 2 of them. But everybody else, obviously, Scotty Reynolds is having a huge game with 18. But Fisher and Redding and Stokes and Clark, they've all contributed for the Wildcats. Shot clock turned off.
We may be on pace for another 102-point game if Marquette's not careful. Villanova dropped 100 on them up at the Pavilion a couple weeks ago.
Matthews looking for a screen.
But down at the Pavilion.
A little bit down from here as Matthews is fouled.
Foul is charged to Antonio Pena, Villanova.
Antonio Pena, his 3rd. There are foul problems for both teams. The biggest situation is Jarrell McNeil, Marquette's best player, having 3.
Villanova calls timeout.
And a timeout taken by Jay Wright.
That's a 30-second timeout for the Wildcats. 30.
Well, Villanova coming in here as the number 4 seed off a 25-win regular season. The Wildcats winning their only Big East championship back in 1995. Beating the UConn Huskies in the championship game. Kerry Kittles getting it done at both ends of the floor. 27 points for Kittles. Jason Lawson was 10 of 14. Kittles the MVP. Villanova 94. Connecticut 78. The only title for the Wildcats in all of their years in the Big East. But this is certainly a team that is good enough to play with and beat the likes of Louisville, Connecticut, and Pittsburgh.
There's no question about that. And again, particularly if they play as cohesively as they are today. You know, knocking down shots is just a matter of getting your comfort level. And obviously Villanova with the 2-day bye may be a little bit rusty. But the other things, the effort, the sharing, the unselfishness, all those things are right there. And Rick Pitino has got to be taking a look at this and going,
Yeah.
Things that make you go,
Doing a little scouting for whoever his opponent will be tomorrow night.
You know, talk about Kerry Kittles and the championship team. I did a Villanova game a couple of weeks ago, and they honored, you know, that team. And I'm looking at Kerry Kittles, and you know, he's a little bit older, got the grades.
Oh boy.
Fortunately, he's going back to school to get his undergraduate or to get a graduate degree, which I'm happy to hear. But I remember he had that baby face, and good gracious, man, it made me feel almost as old as you.
You can't pass that on. Corey Fisher. Fisher gets credit. Team 5 for 24, 21% from the floor, and facing an uphill battle to say the least. Down 16 the Golden Eagles are. So we begin the second half. The winner takes on Louisville in a semifinal tomorrow night. 2 more quarters tonight. Pitt and West Virginia, Connecticut and Syracuse 7 and 9 here on ESPN.
And if it wasn't for the free throw line where Marquette has outshot Villanova 12 of 19 as opposed to 11 of 17, Marquette might be waving the red flag, the white flag.
A foul-filled affair with 25 fouls, 43 free throw attempts in the first half. And keep in mind, Jarrell McNeil begins the second half with 3 personals. Dante Cunningham, a quiet first half. Shane Clark had it, diving for it, still loose. Great effort by both teams. It will belong to the Wildcats as we go to Allen Hopkins. All right, we'll check in with Al a little bit later. 16-point lead for Villanova. Maurice Acker a little bit shaken up perhaps as he gets up. The young man filling in for the injured Dominique James.
You know, Wes Matthews had to be given kind of a blow there as the officials waited to make sure that he was okay as well. I mean, Marquette obviously not playing with their normal accuracy, but certainly the effort is still there, even though they looked a little disheartened after that coast-to-coast by Corey Fisher to end the half.
Cunningham a miss, Matthews the rebound. Keep in mind, Villanova's got this big lead even with Cunningham having a quiet first half. Then again, his counterpart, Lazar Hayward, a very quiet first half for Marquette. The Golden Eagles need more from everybody.
Well, you're going to attribute Dante Cunningham's problem to foul trouble. But Lazar Hayward has been out there, and he's been standing in no man's land, hasn't been aggressive to the board.
Here's Hayward open for 3. Dominique James was on his feet and cheering that shot before it left Hayward's hand. And the 3 makes it a 13-point game.
It's only a second field goal attempt by Lazar Hayward. And we're talking about a guy that averages 16 points a game.
47-34. Reading baseline. Strong to the goal. They play on. Shot clock did not reset. Rule that the shot did not hit the rim. It's at 10 right now. Shane Clark a miss. And look at Jarrell McNeil at 6'2". Get up for the rebound. Nice pass. And Matthews fouled by Reynolds.
Much better job, and you see the congratulatory push by Buzz Williams and Dominique James. You know, that was the last bucket by Lazar Hayward, getting guys involved right now. That first half was an illustration of how much they missed Dominique James. You know, the lack of leadership, and not, you know, through intent, but certainly a lack of leadership because Dominique James is the leader of this team. Him not being on the floor, you see many times Marquette kind of look confused offensively. Didn't get everybody involved. Seems to be a newfound effort right now to start putting pressure on the Villanova defense.
Corey Fisher back into the game at a nice first half for the Wildcats. Let's try again with Allen Hopkins. Allen?
Yes, I'm back. Some technical difficulties. Coach Buzz Williams not happy with the fact that they got more fouls this half than any other point in the previous 33 games. He said mainly because they're not doing a good job of guarding the bounce, and their transition defense has been very poor. I also talked to Dominique James, who said the locker room was very upbeat. He said he told the guys it's a long game. Let's come out and play hard, and we'll be back in this game. He said, mark my words.
All right, well, they've got to defend the back screen and the alley-oop a little bit better if they're going to get back in this game.
And they've got to be a little more assertive, even though they've gotten to the free throw line a number of times. It just tells you that even more so, if they start putting the ball on the floor, drawing defenders and kicking the guys, that they're going to have much more success.
Hayward made a 3, then missed badly on that last attempt. It's a 13-point lead for Villanova early in the second half. Corey Fisher, the 6th man of the year in the Big East. This was announced a couple of days ago. Had 8 points in the first half. Cunningham. That pass off the knee of Reading, and then Reading is called for the personal.
Scotty Reynolds does a lot more than just score. You can take a look at him right there with the back screen on Dwight Burke. And just a nice job of the delivery. No pressure on the ball. But Scotty Reynolds more than just a scorer. And we've seen him play pretty tight defense as well, making it difficult for Jarrell McNeil.
Maurice Acker turns the corner. Nice feed into the corner. A wide open McNeil. So Hayward has hit a 3. McNeil has hit a 3. And Marquette is back within 10.
Both of them off penetration, putting more pressure on the defense.
And that's when the Golden Eagles are at their best, when they penetrate and kick to a teammate instead of trying to take it all the way themselves. Reynolds misses. Rebound, Golden Eagles. Hayward, another one. All of a sudden it's down to 7. Timeout Villanova.
Villanova calls timeout. That will be charged as the 32nd timeout.
Oh, you heard Alan tell us the guarantee from Dominique James. He's turning into Nostradamus as Marquette starts to play with each other. Penetration, kick, they're feeling it.
Marquette has outscored Villanova 11-2 to begin the second half. What a difference a half makes. Marquette on an 11-2 run to begin the second half, back within 7 all of a sudden, knocking down three-pointers. Dominique James has turned from floor leader into cheerleader for the Golden Eagles here early in this half.
Well, the difference between the first half and this half is there's penetration with a purpose. As you see Maurice Acker penetrate and look for shooters. In the first half, Jarrell McNeil was the guy who was penetrating, but his head was down. He's trying to make it happen. Marquette's playing with each other, and that's what's putting pressure on the Villanova defense.
2 threes in the first half for Marquette, 3 already here on the second half, and good on Dominique James. He's engaged, he's involved, he's injured, he's done for the year. His Marquette career is over, but look at how into this he is, and he's taken on almost an assistant coach role with Maurice Acker, trying to guide Acker here as his replacement at the point.
Well, it's a testament to the closeness of this team. We've heard Dominique James often refer to this team as his family, and you obviously don't desert your family at a time when they're most in need of whatever it is that you can give him. You can't give him the leadership between the lines, but he can certainly exert some leadership on the sideline.
Fisher on the penetration. Beautiful feed to Redding, and Villanova doing to Marquette just what Marquette had been doing to them. Penetrate and find the open man.
And that's a nicely developed play coming out of the timeout.
Hayward with Reynolds on him out on the perimeter right now. They're not posting up Hayward at all.
Which is funny. Now he's calling for it. You see him get his hand up in the air, spread the floor. Got to get Acker deep in the corner.
McNeil misses the 3. Acker runs it down.
And see, Jarrell McNeil obviously wants to help his team win, but to do that, he doesn't have to necessarily shoot the ball. Got to recognize the weaknesses and attack them.
McNeil 3 for 12. Matthews 0 for 8. And a timeout on the floor here early in the second half.
Focus on what to do.
Hayward into Burke, and a foul on Fisher will send Dwight Burke to the line for a couple.
And you got to appreciate the patience by Burke in sorting out the defense and getting the ball up on the board, but the big fella's got to finish. Take a look right here. Hayward sets the pick, he gets open. Some contact right there. Burke goes with the left hand on the little fella. You got to be able to take the guard and the ball straight to the basket.
3 on Fisher. Dwight Burke's mom loving that as Burke knocks down the free throw. Stokes back in for Fisher. Burke, not a big offensive guy, averages about 3 points per game. Of all the regular starters in the Big East, of the 80 of them, he has the lowest scoring average, but he's in there for size, rebounding, defense.
Right down there, a 49% free throw shooter knocks them both down.
Marquette fans starting to make a little bit more noise. The Golden Eagles have crept within 7. In spite of McNeil and Matthews being 3 for 20 combined, they are only down by 7. And let Stokes get free. Cunningham from the elbow puts it on the floor. Back rim, offensive rebound. Reynolds from the wing. Yeah, Villanova getting after it on the offensive glass. Shane Clark and a fresh. No, we got a whistle on the side. Stepped out of bounds. Yep.
Baseline, I should say.
Good effort by Clark. Jay Wright didn't like it. Jay Wright's team was up 16 at the half, up only 7 right now. This is quarterfinal number 2 for the Big East Championship at Madison Square Garden. With Len Elmore, Alan Hopkins, I'm Dan Schulman. The winner will play Louisville tomorrow night in semifinal number 1. 2 more quarters tonight here on ESPN. Pitt against West Virginia. Connecticut against Syracuse. A reach-in foul there on Dante Cunningham. And that will be his 3rd.
Villanova foul is on Dante
Jimmy Butler into the game and out for Marquette. Have we ever seen Jay Wright take the jacket off? You know, get angry and get sweaty and just throw that jacket down because things aren't going the way he wants them to?
Few and far between.
The second half has not gone the way that he has wanted it to after a brilliant first half by the Wildcats.
But the way Villanova played with Dante Cunningham on the bench in the first half gives Jay the confidence to leave him in there with 3 fouls.
Hayward got a good look, slaps his palms together in disgust that he missed that 3. Marquette shooting 27%, yet only down by 7. Villanova has cooled off to 38%. Cunningham. And he will shoot a couple.
And then as Dante Cunningham ran down the floor, he took a look at the bench to see if there's somebody going to get up and replace him. And once nobody got up, he realized, okay, let me make hay while the sun's still shining for me out here.
Number 2 on Hayward. Cunningham to the line. As mentioned off the top of the show, the most improved player in the Big East. Won that award a couple of days ago. 48 free throws already between these two teams. Both teams were over the limit at the midway point of the first half.
And again, at the beginning of the game, both of them, you know, shot out like racehorses, getting up and down without real success offensively. You know, Villanova persevered and they started knocking down some shots. Marquette right now seems to be more focused on being a kind of deliberate team in the half court.
A 15-foot jumper, a little bit strong by Cunningham. A rebound to Matthews, and back come the Golden Eagles.
Well, they'll pick their spots when they run.
And another foul. Stokes, I believe. Jay Wright's frustration continues to grow with the way things have turned on his team here in the second half. Louisville an 18-point winner over Providence earlier today. Earl Clark 24, Samardo Samuels 22. The Cardinals to play the winner of this one tomorrow night, 7 Eastern. 2 more quarters tonight here on ESPN. Both semis tomorrow night, and the championship game Saturday night at 9. Also here on ESPN, Dwayne Anderson in for Reggie Redding.
Marquette, good free throw shooting team, around 71%. And as I said, first half, if it weren't for the free throws that Marquette was awarded, you know, they'd be in serious trouble right now, but they stayed relatively close from the line.
25 out of 29 from the stripe. This is the closest Marquette has been since it was 21-15 way back when in the first half. They were down 16 at halftime.
And what they've been able to do now is they're able to take this pace away, this tempo away from Villanova, although that was a big lift from Corey Stokes.
If there's one guy you got to guard beyond the arc on Villanova, it is Corey Stokes, one of the best three-point shooters in the Big East. Maurice Acker is very fortunate that ball went in. A wild shot that he banked home. It's a 7-point game.
Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good.
Stokes off the glass. 5 quick points for Stokes. And now Acker will slow it down. Buzz Williams hollering out a play from the sideline. Matthews looking to get on track. Switches hands, doesn't get the roll.
Nice move. Too bad he couldn't finish it.
Stokes again. And a foul on McNeil, his 4th. 3 shots for Stokes, and McNeil has 4 fouls.
You can appreciate the zeal in playing defense, but for an experienced guy, that's just a bad foul right there. Looks like he hit the elbow, at least from the official's perspective. We'll get a better look right here.
I think Ed Corbett signaled to McNeil that he kind of tapped him on the face. And
on the face?
Yeah, and it is the foul is part in the act of shooting, even if the ball has already been released before the player comes back down to the floor. So even though the ball is gone, that's in the act of shooting. But one that McNeil definitely would want back. As you say, this is an extremely experienced player.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like from my angle he might have gotten him on the elbow, but yeah, he went right through. That's taken the admonition, get a hand in his face, to new levels right here.
And this speaks to the lack of depth for Marquette. And maybe desperation's a little bit too strong, but the situation they face right now, 4 fouls, 12 minutes to go. Buzz Williams is not going to take Jarrell McNeil out of this game.
No, and he should expect that Jarrell McNeil knows how to play now with 4 fouls. And he's got to cut down on his aggressiveness, give more of a focus to playing position defense, which means, you know, you have to anticipate a little bit. You have to read the defenses and maybe be a step ahead of it on the offensive end.
So it cost them 3 points, and their best player has picked up his 4th foul with 12 minutes to go. Villanova recovering very quickly, and Marquette not able to get good looks, and then reaching around is Antonio Pena to pick up the foul.
Well, I'll tell you what, you look at Villanova, and every day there's someone else who can be a hero. And right now, one of the Coreys stoking that offensive engine for Villanova.
Sean Saunders back in the studio. Georgia Tech against Clemson. Alade Iminu takes the lob and then uses a glass, rolls it in. Right now, that was a 10-point lead. It's still there. Georgia Tech up by 10 with under 4 minutes to go. Michigan is blowing out Iowa, Kansas State, and Texas in a close one and a low-scoring affair at the half. Dan.
John, thank you. More ACC action from Atlanta tonight, 7 Eastern on ESPN2. Maryland and North Carolina State. What is at stake for the Terps over the next couple of days?
Well, I think that they want to play on Saturday. If they're playing on Saturday, they should be in. But you look at Virginia Tech, you know, they gave Carolina a lot to deal with. And last year in the ACC tournament, it took a last-second shot by Tyler Hansbrough to beat Virginia Tech. So that should be one heck of a matchup. But the Terps, they may have had a chance to kind of seal a deal in Charlottesville last Saturday, but a 9-win team wound up upsetting them.
Here, Villanova up by 12. For a couple of moments, Villanova, their lead was down to 6 after they were up 16 at the half, but that Jarrell McNeil foul, the 3 free throws and McNeil's 4th foul, seems to have changed the dynamic of this game in the last couple of minutes. Marquette is going to have to find a way to rally yet again, get their momentum back. This could help. Acker for 3.
Maurice Acker, we mentioned before, it's not a total downgrade from Dominique James. Maurice Acker, a pretty good player in his own right. He just does different things, and that's one of them right there. When he can get on a roll, he can feel confident. He can keep the defense honest.
Stokes couldn't get the shot off. No need to rush if you're Villanova. Plenty of time on the shot clock. Shane Clark.
3 seconds close.
And there's the call. Buzz Williams pumped up. A 3 by Acker, a good defensive stand, and Marquette's got the ball back. Jay Wright growing more concerned over on his sideline. He's going to send Dante Cunningham back into the game with the next opportunity. A ton of time left in this game as Marquette tries to rally. Butler for 3.
How about that?
Hayward the rebound. Butler in a little closer, and it's a block.
As I said, that's where he's more comfortable, in that paint. But you know what? If you're wide open, you got to shoot it. Otherwise, they won't play you.
3rd foul on Stokes. Butler to the line.
You see the pass to the cutting Butler inside. And Lazar Hayward now a little more active right now, whether it's looking for offense or whether it's being a conduit in the offense to move the ball. Whereas in the first half, we caught him so many times standing in no man's land. He wasn't hitting the glass. He wasn't back trying to defend. He's just standing there watching.
Cunningham and Redding back in for Villanova. Kubion is in for Marquette. A ton of fouls, a ton of free throw attempts. With all these whistles and stoppages, the clock's not moving very quickly. If you're Jay Wright, you probably look it up and say, man, that clock's not going anywhere. Better than 10 minutes to go, and the lead is down to 7.
He looks for the lob right there for Dante Cunningham. Didn't get it, so he posts.
Right now, Tim Higgins and Gary Prager looking at one another, trying to decide who's going to get the ball. It'll stay at this end of the floor.
And the anticipated response from the Marquette folks on the other end.
Redding to inbound it. 15 to shoot. Double team on Cunningham. He finds the open Redding. Great play by Dante Cunningham to find the cutter.
And a defensive breakdown. You give credit to the cutter, but defensive breakdown, you should never be able to cut down the middle, especially with a guy posting that close.
Acker hit a big 3 moments ago. Matthews on the drive. Acker again. Another one for Maurice Acker. And Dominique James is up and leading the cheers again on that Marquette bench.
I think we've seen this a couple years ago. Maurice Acker coming in with a Dominique James in foul trouble and giving him the same kind of lift.
This is Maurice Acker's moment of filling in for the injured Dominique James. He has become a starter and a 30-minute-a-game guy with James out. He's a junior. He's a transfer from Ball State, listed at 5'8", lucky to be that. And he's knocked down 2 huge threes. In and out for Fisher. Back come the Golden Eagles, looking to get as close as they've been since early in the first half.
We talked about Maurice Acker. All he needs is to develop some comfort. Pretty good point guard.
Hayward over Cunningham. Villanova ball.
I mean, Hayward in spurts has looked like himself, and in other times he looks totally lost. In that one, he looked lost.
At the other end, a long 2 for Corey Stokes, making shot after shot for Villanova. And Buzz Williams getting on David Kubian, whose responsibility was Stokes on that last possession. 17 points for Stokes off the Wildcats bench. Villanova's lead is back to 8 in our second of 4 quarterfinals today for the Big East Championship. Louisville by 18 over Providence earlier today. Pitt, West Virginia, Connecticut, and Syracuse tonight. Syracuse beat Seton Hall last night. West Virginia over Notre Dame. I guess at the end of the day, you know, people talked in this league all season long about Georgetown and Notre Dame. Tough parts of their schedule, better than their record. I guess at the end of the day, you are what you are. And for Georgetown and Notre Dame, that's NIT teams this year.
That's right. You are what your record says you are. Those teams, though, they started off with a bang. And, you know, it kept a loss or two. And all of a sudden now the bottom drops out. And he's still trying to figure it out. I know with Notre Dame, it comes down to the fact that they're not a great defensive team. You take a look at the points breakdown. But with Georgetown, you know, this is the same team, but for a couple of guys. And they replaced Roy Hibbert with a terrific freshman in Greg Monroe. It's pretty much the same team, a nice little nucleus, and they just could not find the chemistry.
Tough off-balance leaner goes. Jimmy Butler with a basket. And Marquette and Villanova now trading baskets back and forth. Still better than 8 minutes to go. Fisher looking for help. Stokes again. 20 points for Corey Stokes.
Came into this game hitting 17 of his last 34 from beyond the arc, and he is just, I guess, on fire.
Jay Wright in a game in December told me every time he sees Corey Stokes shoot the ball, he thinks it's going in. He has the utmost confidence in Stokes. He is one of the truly gifted long-range shooters in this league. Foul before the basket. Timeout on the floor, and what Scotty Reynolds did in the first half for Villanova, Corey Stokes is doing here in the second half. Shot after shot after shot. 20 off the bench for the sophomore. Feeling good here in the Garden.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. Every season starts at Dick's. And in part by Hyundai Assurance Plus, because in times like these, we're all in this together.
Welcome back to our continuing coverage of Championship Week presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. We're inside of Madison Square Garden, the 30th annual Big East Championship. And Marquette desperately trying to climb all the way back into this game with the Villanova down by 9. How have they gotten this done? You look at the points for Hayward and Matthews and McNeil, all below their averages, but the field goal shooting is really what jumps out at you. The three guys are 5 for 28 from the field in this game. Now they're getting to the line and they're hitting their free throws, and it's the free throw line plus some contributions from the likes of Jimmy Butler and Amori Sacker really keeping the Golden Eagles in this game.
Yeah, in the first half it appeared as though Villanova was intent on fouling and not giving up layups as Marquette tried to penetrate and try to get high percentage shots. And that's gotten Jerrell McNeil in some foul trouble. And as well as just kind of dampened the confidence. But look at the guys coming off the bench, particularly Acker and Butler. You know, they've given Marquette a huge lift. And that's really what it comes down to. It's not so much McNeil and Matthews and Hayward have to pick up and do beyond what they're doing. It's the guys coming off the bench in replacement that have to step up.
Cunningham with a turnaround, rebound Hayward, a guy who has stepped it up off the bench for Villanova. Corey Stokes has been the big second half story with 20, excuse me, for the Wildcats. That is the first field goal of the game for Wesley Matthews. And he's got it down to 7, under 7 to go here at the Garden. Good position inside. Cunningham the kick. Fisher. Hayward runs down the rebound. McNeil, little stop and go. Inside, the reverse, no. And again, McNeil has been more successful today when he has initiated the offense, started that move, and then found an open teammate. Boy, they're letting him play. And the easy bucket on the inside for Shane Clark.
Yeah, there are a couple of instances that could have been interpreted as trips, as bumps, knocking the ball handler down on the floor.
Nearing the 6-minute mark, Villanova by 9. Matthews. Butler. Shot clock at 10. Hayward, no. And a hold on Clark as he discarded Wesley Matthews, who really battles in there on the offensive glass.
Yeah, again, it bears repeating about Hayward. He just doesn't look like himself. He just threw that one up on the board just to get rid of it instead of making an assertive move.
Third on Clark, team's 8th. Redding and Anderson return now for the Wildcats as Stokes and Cunningham go out.
For Villanova,
1-1 for Matthews.
Wesley Matthews.
Regardless of what happens to Marquette today or the rest of the way, the people who watch the losses against UConn and Louisville and Pitt and Syracuse know this. They don't quit. They may not win. They may be undermanned. They may be without Dominique James, but they don't quit.
And the reason they don't quit is because they know all of that. And they recognize that the only way they can prevail is to play together as a team and to play with effort. Stranger things have happened during the course of a game.
Fisher looking for help. Redding back to Fisher in the corner. The cut by Clark, but he loses it out of bounds. Here comes Hayward back into the game, and now as Buzz Williams is stepping up the substitutions, offense, defense, Dwight Burke will go out. So you're going to see Burke and Hayward shuttle in and out of this game. Look at Dominique James. I guess he's an unpaid assistant at this point, but he's earning his keep over there. He's talking to every single teammate on their way in and out of the game.
Yeah, he's got a stake in this, his career.
McNeil. Matthews. Again, a lot of dribbling by Marquette. McNeil. Got it. A huge shot for Marquette.
And how did it come about? Inside out, penetration kick.
The second half of this game must seem like it has been an eternity for Jay Wright that there is still over 5 minutes left, and every time Villanova gets a bit of separation, back come the Golden Eagles. Here comes Burke. Here comes Kubion. Out go Hayward. Out go Acker. Dominic James is up now, checking with one of the assistants. Probably, how many fouls has he got? I mean, Dominic James is working it over there on the sideline. Quiet day for Dwayne Anderson. Driving on McNeil. Jumper over him. In and out. Rebound Matthews. He has been strong on the glass today. This is as close as the Golden Eagles have been since early in this game.
And good judgment right here. Time and score situation.
McNeil off to Matthews. Plenty of time to shoot. Matthews inside working hard. Kept alive by Butler. Got to be a held ball there. It's a foul over the back.
Wow.
On Dwight Burke.
It began with simultaneous possession. Take a look right. Here's the battle. And right there, Burke, he comes underneath. I don't know about that. I think Scotty Reynolds did a nice job of selling it, but Burke had that ball cleanly. The bigger player. See how Reynolds comes underneath him? Burke has both hands on the ball.
15 foul on Marquette. Reynolds into the front court for the Wildcats. Stokes. And Reynolds running into Burke, and Burke gets called for another foul. That's another one you'd want to have a look at. Reynolds definitely got the worst of it, giving up about 60 pounds in that matchup with Burke. I don't even think Burke was aware that Reynolds was in his area.
And that's the point. If he's allowed to go after the ball just as Scotty Reynolds is allowed to go for the ball. And I think this is a case of prejudice against side. No, absolutely. Maybe the argument may be that as Burke came down, he threw Reynolds down with his arm right there, and that's what it looked like.
But if two guys are going for the ball, looking at the ball,
they're entitled. He's entitled to the ball, Burke is.
Two quick fouls on Dwight Burke. Burke knocks it away.
That's a travel.
Marquette's got it. Here comes Kubion. Good defense. Stokes got his hands in there, and now a foul going against Cunningham. Number 4 on Dante Cunningham will send the Golden Eagles to the line.
Well, it's been a parade to the foul line all game, but you're right about the defense on the baseline. Hands go up, make it a picket fence, almost with the deflection and almost regain possession.
Clark for Cunningham. Jimmy Butler at the line. 1-1 for Marquette, a career-high 15 for the junior college transfer, a 76% free throw shooter.
And what a different team Marquette is in this half as opposed to the first half. McNeil and Matthews now don't feel like they have to do it by themselves.
McNeil goes out probably just to get through the under 4 media timeout. He's played a long stretch with 4 fouls. Acker back in. Acker 2 huge threes here in the second half. Butler 11 out of 12 from the free throw line. Do you believe it? Marquette is down by 2.
And just call a foul on Maurice Acker. Totally unnecessary. Yeah, you want to try to put pressure on the ball, but you got to exercise some judgment. Scotty Reynolds, one of those guys that'll put his head down, get head and shoulders past you, and take the contact.
There's the foul situation for Marquette. 4 on McNeil, 4 on Burke. Acker just picked up his 4th. You don't want to put Scotty Reynolds at the line. Over 80%.
And if the intent was to get McNeil through the media timeout, can't afford to do it now.
Here he comes.
Number 22, Jarrell McNeil. Number 32, Lazar Hayward.
Marquette will get the ball back, so Hayward comes in. Got 6 guys in blue jerseys on the floor right now. Somebody's got to come out as Hayward goes in. It'll be Jimmy Butler.
Glad you accounted, because I don't think anybody from Marquette was.
That's the first point on that free throw. First point in the second half for Scotty Reynolds after 18 in the first. And now Butler back in for Burke. The wrong guy came off the court. Burke was the one that Buzz Williams wanted. Can they do that?
Depends if the officials let him. I mean, Ed Corbett right there, he knew exactly what happened. Could have just an inadvertent walk-off there, and it wasn't really a question of, he wasn't substituting for Butler, he was substituting for Burke. The wrong guy, as you mentioned, went off, and the officials in their judgment allowed that.
A miss by Reynolds. Marquette ball. Possession by possession, point by point, they have fought their way back into this game. McNeil double team, turns it over.
He's got to know he's double teamed.
Trying to do too much. Great hands by Matthews, loose ball, and there's a foul on Scotty Reynolds.
On one hand, you credit Scotty Reynolds throwing his body everywhere, just hustling, but on the other hand, he's created some dangerous situations.
The Golden Eagles to the line when we return. The Golden Eagles racing their way right back into this game. 3:41 to go, and a 16-point deficit has been cut down to 3. All kinds of excitement here in championship week. Pitt fans are starting to file in for the nighttime session. Pittsburgh will play West Virginia. Connecticut will play Syracuse, but hold on. This game isn't over yet. If you tuned away because Villanova had the big lead, Marquette couldn't hit a shot, Marquette in foul trouble. How have they gotten back into this game?
Well, they stayed assertive, but more importantly, Jarrell McNeil and Wesley Matthews start to figure out, hey, we've got teammates. And they've got guys who now have stepped up, Maurice Acker, particularly Jimmy Butler. These guys have gotten themselves involved, made it more difficult for Villanova to guard. And in fact, it's created a more dynamic situation that Marquette now has other people that they can go to for offense. Villanova, on the other hand, Dante Cunningham in foul trouble. Scotty Reynolds trying to do it by himself. Corey Stokes has stepped up, but it's not enough to offset the free throws and the newfound diversity in offense that Marquette has.
Butler back to the line. He is 12 out of 13 from the line today. Marquette is 32 of 36 from the line on the afternoon. Three and a half to go. A total of 5 players in the game with 4 fouls as the lob to Cunningham is good, and Nova's up by 4.
Once again, it's that back screen. Marquette needs to communicate a heck of a lot better so they're not victimized by it. And also the other option for that back screen will be Reynolds or the guard who sets it popping out for the jump shot.
Acker looking for Matthews. This is a play Marquette has run often. Acker looking for help right now, finds McNeil. Back to Acker, corner 3. Maurice Acker, his third 3, filling in for the injured Dominique James. It is a 1-point game.
And look at those eyes. You talk about intensity right now. He's in this game.
This is Marquette basketball. Just keep penetrating and kicking till you find an open guy instead of forcing it yourself.
Well, they've got the ball handlers to do it. Now all you have to do is have the will to share.
A block.
That's Jimmy Butler.
The last time Marquette led in this game was at 5-4 in the opening moments of the game. An unbelievable comeback by the Golden Eagles. Butler is fouled and will go to the line.
Now, that was a great illustration of what didn't happen in the first half, where McNeil felt he had to do it by himself. Right here, dribbling, penetrating, sharing. All that's a formula for success here in the second half. First half, Jarrell McNeil feels that he had to do it by himself, driving, head down, not really looking for his teammates.
Butler had made 12 of 13. Now he's missed 2 in a row. Fisher in for Redding for Villanova.
And game starts getting tight. Your arm can't get tight. You got to loosen it up. Shake it out, bend those knees.
Tie game with 2:13 to go.
Marquette, a little full court pressure, and the man
Reynolds with a quick step into the chest of McNeil, who's playing with 4 fouls. Reynolds gives Villanova the lead.
You know, on details, you got to take the baseline away. Scotty Reynolds right-handed. Baseline's on his right hand. You got to take that away, make him handle with his left.
Hayward for 3. Marquette takes the lead. Timeout Villanova. Wow.
That's the 30-second timeout for the Wildcats.
Marquette Len has now made 8 of 12 threes here in the second half.
Well, again, it still comes down to penetrating, going towards the basket. Villanova well-schooled at trying to close lanes and help because they don't have the shot blockers. But what that does forces the defense to retreat. And now you got spot-up shooters. And Lazar Hayward, he wasn't there when they needed him in the first half. But he's on time now.
He sure is. Double bonus for Marquette the rest of the way. The Golden Eagles have the arrow. Again, there are a number of players in foul trouble right now. A number of players with 4. What a difference a half makes for Marquette. 2 of 12 from beyond the arc of the first half. 8 of 12 in the second half. McNeil has hit. Hayward has hit. Acker has hit. You can't say enough about Acker and Butler and what they have done for the Golden Eagles' cause.
Yeah, they've stepped up. And they've literally forced Matthews and McNeil to play with him.
Reynolds trying to get away from Matthews. Tough off-balance shot.
Terrific defense.
Yep.
Matthews with the size and the foot quickness to stay with Scotty Reynolds. And Reynolds couldn't make it to the basket and obviously couldn't shoot over Matthews at 6'5".
So Marquette improbably with the ball and the lead with 1 minute to go in this game, down 16 at the half. McNeil's had 4 fouls forever. They couldn't hit a shot. Missed a 3. Rebound Fisher. Nova looking for the lead.
Yeah, you got to put pressure on the defense. You can get that jump shot anytime.
Yep.
And it's right in front of their bench, so you would have thought that somebody's going to step up and say, hey, let's move it, let's run something.
30-second timeout. Dominic James, the first guy out on the floor to talk to all of his teammates as they make their way to the huddle. What's at stake here is a spot in the semifinals tomorrow night against the top-seeded Louisville Cardinals, who dispatched Providence earlier today, 73-55. 2 more quarters tonight here on ESPN. Pitt, West Virginia, and Connecticut, Syracuse, and both semis tomorrow. The championship game Saturday. Dan Shulman, Len Elmore, back with you. What are you looking for out of the timeout?
Well, again, I mean, first of all, when you look at Marquette's possession, they may be going 2 for 1, recognize, but they could have gotten a better shot than that. Here, I think that the one play that worked for Villanova, at least to begin something, is the back screen, looking for maybe the alley-oop to Dante Cunningham after you've taken a little time off the clock, gotten the defense moving a little bit. And if that's not open, the person who's screening pops out, which is usually Scotty Reynolds. He's got the ball in his hands. First thing you got to do, though, is you got to get the ball in bounds.
You got to believe that Reynolds and McNeil will be the primary ball handlers. Each of them has made some great decisions today. Each of them has forced some shots today. Here is Reynolds.
Well, you got plenty of time to get some ball movement, but again, a back screen to get an easy shot.
Stokes puts it on the floor, and he travels.
That's a traveling violation.
Wow.
And Jay Wright is going to use his last timeout.
And here we go, talking about playing to your strengths. What's Corey Stokes' strength? Shooting the 3, not putting it on the floor.
That's a full timeout for Villanova. It's their final.
The last timeout for Villanova. Marquette's got the ball and the arrow and 2 timeouts and the lead with 40 seconds to go. You talk about swimming upstream all afternoon long. That's what the Golden Eagles have been doing. But they've got it in their sights right now if they can execute.
And that's what would make this win so magnificent. Not the fact that you got a 5 seed beating a 4 if in fact it comes to pass. But look at the adversity Marquette has faced, not only with the loss of Dominic James, but playing in this ball game where they just seem to be sputtering in the first half.
Yeah, again, their big 3, their healthy big 3, McNeil, Matthews, and Hayward, are 8 for 35 from the floor, and they are winning this game right now. This would be the largest halftime deficit ever overcome in the 30-year history of the Big East Championship if Marquette could win this game. folks up there who had the crutches really need him, or if that's a symbolic gesture toward Dominique James.
Don't get me speculating.
What a comeback by Marquette. Getting to the line, stepping up the defense, and the support players. Jimmy Butler, who's got a double-double today. Maurice Acker, who's hit 3 threes, has a dozen points. 5 players in double figures.
Well, before this game, we talked about Jarrell McNeil, one of the leaders of this team, mentioning that the St. John's win gave them their confidence back. Prior to that, they had lost 4 in a row, obviously coinciding with the loss of Dominique James. If you think the St. John's win gives them confidence, what do you think this win will do?
40 seconds left, so a 5-second difference between the game clock and the shot clock. Any foul is 2 shots for Marquette.
And I think Villanova's defense is good enough right here. They're putting the pressure on to kind of slow down the attack of Marquette.
McNeil 72% if he winds up getting fouled.
Hey, Reggie Redding got away with one right there. That in the middle of the game, that would have been called a foul. As many fouls as have been called.
McNeil elevates. Villanova ball. They do not have a timeout. A chance to win it here for the Wildcats.
Redding's got to be careful. He pushed off once.
Acker face guarding Reynolds. Dwayne Anderson, and Villanova wins. The basket is going to be under review. It clearly appeared to beat the horn. Dwayne Anderson getting free under the bucket. It rolled around on the rim and dropped in, and Villanova has apparently won 76-75.
What a sequence.
The basket is under review. For Marquette fans, it would be heartbreaking. Out of his hand with about .8. Plenty of time.
Yep. You know, there's a little bit of a push-off with the hand. The officials call that probably incidental contact, but nice drive by Redding right there, and the dump to Dwayne Anderson. The drive really made the play right there. As you see, Jarrell McNeil, one of the top defenders in the league, just focused on the ball and forgot about his man. You take a look right here. He was lost.
Dwayne Anderson gets the basket. The basket is good. Villanova wins 76-75 in a thrilling quarterfinal game to advance to tomorrow night's semifinal against Louisville. Heartbreak for the Golden Eagles, who fought so hard to get back into this game.
Well, I'll tell you what, heartbreak on both ends. Jarrell McNeil drives hard to the basket. Appears to be some contact as he hits the floor, but no call, and Villanova with patience pushes it up, runs their stuff out of a timeout.
Jay Wright embracing Jarrell McNeil among others. He's coached against this great Marquette team for the last 4 years. Dominique James will now sit back with the rest of his teammates and await their fate and find out where they are going as they head into the NCAA tournament. Again, a heartbreak for the Marquette fans after they fought back from a 16-point halftime deficit, took the lead on a couple of occasions, only to see it snatched away at the last moment. Alan Hopkins is with Jay Wright.